people really like to give up, and they don't really have that drive.
The expectation should be to win first place.
Get them to ascend.
We kind of just threw at the end.
30 seconds left.
Yeah, MAD were winning 5 versus 3.
Look how quick this one.
Oh!
Second map of Ascent in this series. Prosperity did good to take the first map off of Winthrop University, but in a typical Winthrop University fashion, we get to the second map. It's a complete 180, and they've run away with Ascent, now taking us to a map 3 in the series. I mean, Roy, this Winthrop University from the get-go, they pressed on the go button, and they frankly just never let go.
Yeah, they absolutely just kept the foot on the gas. But this map was a lot more in line with what we expect from Winthrop University, right? This is what we were highlighting in the pre-show when we were talking about this team's potential and why we don't really consider this team an underdog anymore, right? This is why.
Yeah, just simply put, this is a Winthrop University that's firing on all cylinders. And kind of, you know, golfs in a way of like, oh, let's forget about the first map. You know, we gotta show up. We got a lot of pressure on us now. And Prosperity, I mean, this was a team that we had really praised for their teamwork in that first map, their capability of shooting back. And Winthrop University was just frankly not having any of that.
Yeah, it all fell apart this game, and obviously because of Winthrop and the fact that they weren't playing around. They knew that this could have been, you know, the space to lose, so they stepped up. They took the initiative to make sure that they were playing the best game they could, and I do have to give some kudos to Infiltrator for that, because, I mean, we got to see the up play. We got to see the crazy space taking. I for sure think Winthrop put their game in this one.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I talked a little bit about how Ascent can be a very difficult map on the attack side, and I think we saw a little bit of that in this map right here by Winthrop University's style, right? And first of all, Ali was holding down A main. The problem with running an explosive comp, guys, is you can't really explode unless you have space, right? That is like the whole point of the composition. But Ali was holding down A main. They weren't having any success on that side of the map. Then you have Infiltrator opping around, playing his one and dones, playing his little off angles, playing his little corners, right? Going aggressive with the operator, slowing them down on the other parts of the map. And as soon as they felt like they're starting to play into a very, very slow pace, that's where the attack side can get very awkward and very difficult. They don't have the Sova. They don't really have a lot of tools to re-clear the space. So once they dump that early utility, they don't really have much to work with. And that's how Winthrop University had such a clean win here against Prosperity.
I'm a little surprised considering just like how much work Zop and etc. was doing, that it's a 6-9 of first kills, with 6 going the way of Prosperity, but only converting on 2 of those rounds. But looking at the player performances coming out from this team, talked about a couple of different people. Ali just being able to have this little hold down. We got to see step ups across the board. But really, when I look at the Winthrop University, like I look at the Jet, I look at this composition, and it was just kind of something that was a little difficult here, Roy, for Prosperity to even just crack through. The Waylay is a fun idea. We got to see a couple moments, but sometimes the classic is, you know, it's gold.
Yep, it's tried and tested, right? That's what we talk about. And Infiltrator kind of showed a lot about what we like as like what we see in him as a duelist. He was able to pop off. He had so many moments, right? He's able to rifle. He's able to op. He's explosive on the entry. He's able to just play in so many different paces. And it's that level of like consistent aggression that comes out from the duelist, that comes out from the rest of Winthrop University. That's what can make it a little bit awkward to play against this team, because there's just so many players that are just constantly stepping on you.
Yeah, and you know, kind of also giving back what they received on Lotus too, right? The very, very difficult pushes that they have to push past on Lotus. Now actually the ones that are starting to perceive that push and make sure that they're initiating on that. So Infiltrator definitely making, I mean, we see the ACS going up to 338. This guy did not come to play today. And that's that. I mean, Winthrop, we talked about in the beginning, right? This team loves the pressure. They love to be put under it. And at this time, right, that's exactly what they did. They took the pressure and they made it into success. And I think they did it, I mean, to the best of their ability that they could. Infiltrator definitely, you know, being that op-heavy duelist that they needed to push past that.
Hey, pressure makes diamonds, but Infiltrator's performance throughout this was just key. You're just going to double peek 2 people and still get a kill here. There was a point where Magic with the Waylay tried to just get behind Infiltrator. Infiltrator just 180 pops him. It was just insane stuff coming out from this Jet, from this duelist. And a Winthrop University that's really cooking up. And that fares great for them, not so great for Prosperity when we look at now a third and final map in this series, especially with where we're headed. I don't want to get too focused on, okay, well, this is what the teams have done in the past, expectations, because we love just shattering through those expectations and challengers. Let's be real. But I'm just saying, Roy, when we've seen Winthrop University here, their last 2 victories was over M80 and TSM. That bodes pretty good for this collegiate squad.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, after watching the first map, Prosperity really gained my confidence, right? They looked good on that first map. Second map, a little bit rough. But going into Pearl, I can't lie, I'm a little bit nervous for Prosperity because Winthrop University, you're absolutely right. They've had very strong wins on this map, but it's not really just the wins. It's the fact that it fits their style. They're able to have their impact in so many different ways. They're able to challenge B, they're able to retake together. A lot of like the disruption and a lot of like the sort of, you know, X Factor style works very well for this team on this map, and I think their composition suits them as well, and they're all sort of in their comfort positions, so I'm slightly concerned. But on the other hand, I really do feel like Prosperity has a lot of reps under their belt. They played this map around 15 times, obviously not in Challengers, but they played this map around 15 times in the last few months. So I mean, this could be a back and forth between these teams.
Yeah, it seems like as well, right? Like in terms of the history of composition on both ends, it's pretty similar. So whatever they're going to get thrown with, I feel like they'll know how to maneuver it in terms of what Prosperity can handle. And we've seen this team. They're good with the adaptations. It's not like they haven't, played against really, really hard teams before. Like they have the competitive experience down. It's just obviously Ascent really is a hit or miss. And actually, Roy made a really good point in the green room, right? You have to start with good momentum if you're starting on the attacking side, and it really felt like it fell apart from there.
I mean, if we're talking about the whole series overall in terms of that momentum now, if Winthrop University has all of it, Prosperity, it's about how they're going to bounce back in this. Welcome to Challengers. These sets are tough, but they've definitely shown throughout this that they have capability of standing up. So let's see, as it's time to head into the agent select, what they're thinking of bringing ahead of today's series. Of course, we have more recent thoughts of Winthrop University on this map. A couple of things that fit this play style. We get to see the Jet. They sometimes switch the Sentinel around. Going into today, we're going to keep with this Vice. On the opposing end here, though, Roy, we're looking at a double duelist from Prosperity Esports.
Yeah, this has been popularized quite well, and the level of fragging power that Manny's brought in the first map and as well as his attempt in the second map is actually kind of interesting because now they're going into a map where there's so much room to battle. You can battle in the mids, you can battle on the execs, right? There's so many long-range fights that you can have as well as set pieces. So I think looking towards Prosperity's side, I'm actually a big fan of this composition for the team. I think it suits how they've been wanting to play on that first map. And looking on the other side for Winthrop University, it's the tried, the tested. They've had results. It's going to be a pretty strong showing here.
I think it's good, right? Sticking to the basics of what you know, but this being so new from Prosperity, right? You know, this is a team that Winthrop has never played before. They don't know their tendencies. They're actually learning them as we go. So obviously, you know, kudos on the sweep that came through from that last map, but 2 duelists coming through from 2 exceptional players on the side of Prosperity. Manny, right? Finally taking role from that controller and now stepping into the duelist role. I'm really excited to see this.
I mean, Manny was cooking on that first map of Lotus, and 2 duelists is always better than 1. We'll have to see if Prosperity Esports, if it's enough to get this debut victory over Winthrop University, or if this is going to be the bounce back and yet another Pearl victory for the collegiate squad. It's now, for the final time of the series, head back over to your casters, Jen and Nurse, to take you through.
I'll agree, Sierra. Maybe 2 duelists is better than 1, but, you know, Roy did point out all this explosive power is nice, but you need the space to do that with. And we'll see, Prosperity will have an easier time on this one, Nerd.
I'd hope so, right? I would hope so if you take a look at like B long, if you take a look at like A main control, it's a little easier to get on something like this map in comparison to Ascent, which was a little bit more topsy-turvy. My question is, though, the mental coming into this after such a game, if it was a test on the previous map, and now that this map is being loaded in, this is more of like, okay, this is our like another test, or is it just like this is the comp that we're working with? A lot of ideas, though. Big question for me is how are they going to use the initiator utility for both sides, because you do see Flare on that Taeho, very good for stall, but we don't have that necessarily for Prosperity. They're going to be going for Yuki on the KJ, and with the changes, it's totally fine to use Yuki on KJ, but I digress. This mid crawl, split works.
And the chase is on Prosperity, just running after Winthrop as soon as they spotted them. The same strat as Ascent, but Winthrop are almost just baiting them into a trap, and maybe not as lethal. We'll see. Nasi catches the slide. Ali with 2 at the beginning, and this is just Ascent all over again.
Nothing's perfect.
Oh, another 20-second round being burned. And it was a nice ace split. They were trying to get a lot of really good control. We didn't even see Winthrop fighting for it. There was actually a lot of disengagement out of Winthrop, but it only kind of led them further into the maw of the void. It's calling for you like a fly to lamplight. It just like really sucked them in, because look, I mean, the dash comes through. I mean, it was Nazi who kind of fell back from Art, and they're the ones to get the full house combo of a 3-2 split and getting things started off for Winthrop rather briskly, I guess. I mean,
yeah, and usually Magic has the most amount of time on Neon, and Manny has played it too and won't be playing it this round, but Magic has been that flex god for Prosperity before. Are experimenting more with their comp and are still gonna hope to find a trade after losing their, well, at least one of their duelists. The Magic is taking damage. Vantic with a vantage point, and Winthrop having Outlaw. They carves through 2. Infiltrator, doesn't matter what weapon you give him, he's lethal with it.
And then just they just recover their weapons and push on through. That almost got really dicey. It was quite hairy. Buy-ups coming out. I don't expect them to go for A here. We do see the spike kind of working its way back towards the B site. Off of this first couple of rounds here, we do see a good amount of coordination, but that's from both sides. It's not like it's just for Prosperity. Even though Prosperity was the squad that managed to kind of trip them up on the eco, I'm really hoping that Winthrop can keep the wind in their sails, but Prosperity, they have weapons now, and they're changing up their play.
I have a long distance haunt too from Nasi that's gonna spot out Prosperity. With the smokes in place, Winthrop want to conceal their position until it's too late. That's just the Yoru clone, because Winthrop aren't gonna bite on the bait yet, but Manny comes around a different side and doesn't get the surprise on Nasi, who will be stoic, and now the crossfire with moves, and Scary Shark 180s both. What a double kill. Now the Prosperity back in the driver's seat with a plant after Prosperity were the ones who got first blooded. Just said Scary Shark. She's scary for a reason.
Ooh.
Spike down B.
Oh, Infiltrator's scary too. Let's see with
Very
the
much.
Outlaw. Maybe heading to the high ground. No, gonna stick to the low ground. But now it being smoked off. Trying to play off the info of everyone sidestepping the salvos from Flare.
Last player standing.
Prosperity very much know where the retake is coming from. Just a matter of time. A good round win, but what a play too from Scary Shark. That was insane.
I mean, it was the same coming back from when we previously saw it on Ascent, and even more so on Lotus. She is her. She does so much for this squad. Something I also want to highlight in that mid-round was Prosperity baiting out a lot of Winthrop utility before going for the post-plant. It's super crucial for them to deny a lot of the Taeho utility before going for it, and they had the time to do so. So really good decision-making and play out of Prosperity as they head back towards this B site.
Haunt this time on the right side of the map. It's Winthrop had the advantage with not only information, but the first blood, and same situation now. Nasi in a different spot, not in that back corridor. It's Moobs that can just activate the thorns as soon as he senses presence from Prosperity. But that Prosperity just played for the orb, and now they're scaling up towards A.
And keep one down towards B long as well, just in case they see some aggression. But A is empty, so we already see the rotate for the rest of the Winthrop squad here for the retake. Are they just farming these orbs? Magic's one off ult.
I'm out of here.
That's good for them, but Orb Grab gave Flare a heads up of what's coming. The neon walls, it's another fake, 47 seconds, and that's what I wanted to see more of out of Prosperity in the last map. They were just kind of going in head first. Option 1 is the only option, and Yuki, the lurk, is gone, but Prosperity were already pretty decided on B, but the jig is up. Winthrop, no, they're there, but not that Vantic was in this position, and what a backstab, and it's 3! A big win for Prosperity, leaving Nasi all on his own and ace potential. Or maybe, you know, teammates may be stealing out. It all depends on where Nasi is going to creep up from. This Prosperity have really flipped this map on its head when Winthrop were going for flawless rounds. Prosperity sure still got some gas in the tank. There we go.
Yeah. First one found here for Vantic. Exactly what Prosperity needed. Not only tying up the score, but some wind in their sails across the seas here. I mean, the way they played that, right? You had Vantic still inserted down towards B, generally just left there. They grabbed the orbs. They're playing around the map and working through it here. I think I mentioned this, right? There is a lot more room on Pearl for them to sort of take that space in comparison to Ascent, where, you know, the map layout itself kind of benefits Prosperity right now. And I'm loving the way that they've been using it to their advantage.
Just having Yuki give them some map control, some space for Prosperity to walk around. They would like ideally for Yuki to get kills too and like to survive longer, but giving themselves that much map control is huge, but who cares? Man, Vantic is built differently these last couple of rounds. The ace into the immediate 3K. They're droning up. Prosperity have weakened up the site, but are taking things slow enough for Nasi to get in position. And at the back is moves as well. Prosperity already teleporting in, sending their neon forward, and have already snuffed out where Winthrop were holding from. A great flawless round for Prosperity.
Oh, man. As an eco, so they just managed to clean things up at Vantic, charging up enough to get a second ultimate almost. And that's just truly how Prosperity needs to take this, right? Really much with like building of ego and character for some of these players, having the confidence to have those holds. Beautiful spray down, and more than that, Prosperity taking the lead the first time since Lotus. In such a crucial moment here. It's going to be rifles all around. Infiltrator has this op in hand. This was the Achilles heel last time.
It's going to hurt with the dimensional drift. Should be able to call this out. The smoke's in place. Infiltrator's not going to get good sight lines, and hearing that dimensional drift, you're just getting the heck out of here. Especially the Hunter's Fury from the offense. It just forced Winthrop out of position. Nightfall retake. Winthrop are here to scramble, but then they just run in thinking the Nightfall was going to scare Prosperity, that Winthrop were going to have this advantage, but then the Cosmic Divide, Winthrop got separated and got run down by Prosperity like a firing squad, and now Winthrop are just going to decide to save.
They don't want to jump into the cacophony of chaos that's out on the B site, but we do see Prosperity going for the fights because they want to try and grab some of these weapons away and hurt the economy of Winthrop as much as possible. But Flare backing out as much as they can, sending out even more utility. At this point, right, for Prosperity, you've got yourself a lot built up. Sure, a lot of ultimates have been expended out, but genuinely, this should be a huge confidence builder for the likes of Prosperity.
Yeah, and even to deny all those weapons and the op
yeah,
is huge, especially that Winthrop won't be able to buy that op for sure. We'll see what they end up landing on, but I'm glad you pointed out the confidence, because Prosperity, this was a big round to win with all the ultimates expended. You had Nightfall, but also the Cosmic Divide and everything thrown from Prosperity. A lot invested, and it really paid off.
I'm just interested to see if they're going to invest the Blade Storm here, because Infiltrator does have shields, is poised for it to run down alongside Nasi.
I think Winthrop are just not gonna try and challenge this, not after they got pieced up by Vantic. Definitely just Winthrop going back to just holding a trap on A. That was what made Winthrop so successful on Ascent, and And even the first pistol round, I believe it was a flawless, as they just kind of had their angles around A and let Prosperity walk in. But Prosperity are also playing the pivot game, where they grab orbs, they smoke up, they cut noise. Now Winthrop don't know what the heck is going on.
Just want to point out also Prosperity doing a good job of, you know, taking the space and denying Winthrop that similar play style like they had on Ascent. More than that, the op, like the fact that they use those ultimates to flush the op out is huge for the consistency and even more so the comeback potential of Prosperity. Now the Bladestorm on Infiltrator was invested, so this B site is going to be bolstered up in terms of the defensive line, but we're going to see Infiltrator going absolutely huge, and they're just falling off the site.
30 seconds left.
Oh, they got given it away.
I'm out of here.
We'll see what Winthrop can do with just the 2 versus 5. The orbs being grabbed. Infiltrator with knives out. Nasi gets a pick too. This is severe damage into Prosperity and a Thrifty on the horizon. If only Infiltrator had more cutlery, it's still a Winthrop win.
Hey, it was off the back of Infiltrator. They needed to go huge, and the reposition did just that. The 3K found. And now it gives them a bit more. It's close to tying up the score. Infiltrator is now having an op in hand. They're going to be setting that up towards B like they did previously. Just these shots are nasty. They even invested in ultimate. The Armageddon wasn't even the main point of it, but it did put a little bit of chaos into their step, especially towards mid. This op is going. Okay.
Revealing area.
Information. Yeah, being able to utilize this Sova. Winthrop get no information off of B, and the Yoru clone not getting shot at, but causing noise, and the clone crosses through the smoke, so Winthrop won't be baited. That lurk from Yuki could be important. And then Infiltrator, the op isn't mid, and it's a problem. But Prosperity, you know how they like to react. Fight fire with fire. But Winthrop are just surrounding them. So Prosperity are trapped. Managing to teleport out, though. Where did that pesky Yoru go? Especially with the spike. Prosperity, the round is not over. That's an opening for Yuki. Trying to help bring the spike over to B, but Magic says, help me. I'm getting pushed by 3. And the op is still in the hand of Infiltrator. Prosperity could do more to deny that, but you left Winthrop a chance to buy up, and man, when Winthrop got rifles, they're scary.
I think the scariest element of that also, Lemon, is the fact that you have an economy builded up for Winthrop, so even when we do see some crucial ultimates come online later down the line for Prosperity, it'll be difficult to really put a stop to this op, and that's where the timeout comes into play. What a perfect timeout to kind of discuss that gnawing problem of not only the Infiltrator operator, but the lack of counter to it. Now, we are 2 away from Magic having their ultimate. They could go for a similar play alongside a lockdown to really pressure it off. And also Manny having theirs one off as well. There's a lot of pieces for the Prosperity puzzle, and more than just all of that chaos, just a nice little mental blanket, because you have Infiltrator kind of showing us that Ascent vintage performance, and you need to address that on a calling level for Yuki.
Winthrop are getting away with thrifties too, like not this round, but the round before, and then one time on Ascent. Like, can't underestimate what Winthrop can do with Sheriffs, and then as soon as they buy up, they're able to keep the op and just really ruin Prosperity in moments that they thought that they could win. And you still have the lockdown for Yuki, but getting to the site is what is the problem for Prosperity. They're getting picked before they can even get to where they need to be, and now Infiltrator's going to be in their face with an op.
Oh no.
Well, Prosperity, they're hungry for orbs. Infiltrator lays down the bait, smokes in the way, and Scary Shark is just faster. She is so clutch in these tense scenarios, and she has saved rounds for Prosperity before. Now, Orb picked up. Prosperity continue their trek, and around the corner is Nazi and moves.
Flush out the B site. They've already taken care of that operator. Invest as much as you can here, Prosperity, and win it out. Winthrop getting ready for the regress.
Kind of taking some damage though from your own killjoy if you're Manny, but all good. Prosperity have their bases covered. That's, yeah, Cosmic Divide to seal in the site. Winthrop to want to enclose them into a small space, but Prosperity were waiting at the front door. It tripped you up. A bucket of water above. And Winthrop just couldn't do much when the setup was there from Prosperity. This is a pretty close map.
The question mark for me was the op being pushed up towards the B site. I think Infiltrator was going for a read and they felt themselves, but unfortunately the 5-stack for Prosperity, which was definitely a cook from the timeout, really worked in their favor. And now it's something that I brought up previously. The economy is still really solid for Winthrop University because they have an op in hand, and we have Phoenix doing me Pog Pikachu face like, oh, they still have it up. Infiltrator still has up.
Oh, and he's posted up on A, and he's got help from the whole squad, including the South Ozone for drive. Was hoping to boot those through. But Winthrop has such good support. There is layers to this Winthrop defense. That is what's killed Prosperity before. And Prosperity could not break down that fortress on A this time.
I like the idea for Prosperity, right? We're gonna try and just like if one of us dies to the op, immediately get that trade. Infiltrator is out of the equation. He can't reposition. He can't do anything. And so what does Winthrop do? Okay, you guys are gonna take down our king. Well, we're going to bolster our defenses. We're going to make sure Flare or Nasty are there and ready to trade and take more fights. And through all the chaos, through all the ultimates, they just win out. Because the caliber of players is that strong. You talk about Flare, who's just really good in those clutch moments time and time again. Confidence is there for Winthrop.
And Manny just getting shut down on the overdrive. I like that Prosperity. We're not going to cower in that moment, but it's unfortunate to lose that round with such an important ultimate invested, but Dimensional Drift is ready. Magic just waits for everyone to be synced up. But also the spike is on the left side of the map. Prosperity really trying to sell this fake. And Winthrop are just going to keep their bases loaded.
Of course. I mean, Infiltrator's back down here and Yuki's walking straight into it. It's a matter of the timing.
Yeah, and he's been in mid before. And oh, little sidestep from Yuki. Trying to be a lot more careful. Playing their life. So important for a lurk like Yuki. Now, to have the information that the op is mid, it could easily swap over to B. So Prosperity have to be careful. They'll do some initial scouting with the Dimensional Drift. Magic has to choose the time he pops out carefully.
30 seconds left.
The smoke's in place. He's just going to hold the angle. Infiltrator will be pushed. The speed from Manny kicks him in the teeth. But Prosperity have more up their sleeve. And keeping Manny at the helm, but above, the window goes unchecked, so Winthrop get a surprise, but Prosperity still have the numbers to close out the round.
Great calling out of Yuki, spots out the op and knows, okay, this is where the op position is. Let's speed up into a different area of the map and take this 6th round hold. Now, looking forward, you have Vantic off of a Cosmic Divide and 3 insane retake ultimates for Winthrop. Their win condition is just keeping players alive and going for the, you could go either for aggressive early, a retake. I mean, Infiltrators won off their own ultimate for Winthrop, but for Prosperity, it's just probably the same. Find out where the op is and try and flush it out.
All right, Deja Vu. Can Scary Shark get the surprise on Infiltrator yet again? But this Neon did just cross over, and still Manny trades it. And hey, at least Prosperity can pick up the op if they really wanted to, but dealing with Infiltrator is a huge X factor that Prosperity taken care of. Lose Magic, but that's the beauty of having a second duel. That's the one that's breaking ankles like Manny does. Prosperity been able to pick up the spike, but they're deciding to, okay, the spike was kind of leaving Vantic. Really need to take advantage of this Cosmic Divide and get the plant going. He kind of hesitated, and every second matters as Winthrop are around the corner. Here's the Armageddon at the back corridor, but waiting is Manny. The easy double kill, almost the ace too. Prosperity, a 7-5 half.
Really good position out of Manny to avoid the Armageddon. Really solid at calling for Prosperity, right? Yuki being that lurker, being able to play it at their pace, at his pace, to just be like, okay, I know where I'm going to be going, how I want to find the timing, and where my team is going to call. Really sets up for Prosperity on the attacking side. Now I'm curious how the defense is going to look, especially considering that a 5-7.5 is still really competitive between them. And just looking at the replays, I was like, is Temet's in the server? What is this? Oh, and the zoom and W production, but that's just a really good position out of Manny there. And it just goes to show how primed of a duelist Manny is. You know, we saw them on that Clove roll, on that smoking, like, second aggro, and they do just as good on a dynamic duelist like Neon.
Winthrop on the pistol. They let off with a flawless round. And a quick teleport out, almost catching Magic. It's a good start. Winthrop have Prosperity on the back foot. Prowler, though, Winthrop are still going to scale. They don't want to walk in unnecessarily and walk into the sightlines of Prosperity, but that's unfortunately what Moves and Ali just did. Prosperity have full map control, too. Winthrop, though, they're a death ball that can still hurt. They're still making their way to A.
Making their way through Art, going fast, and honestly, Prosperity, they have all of the pieces for success here. Even though Magic is low, they managed to find one towards B site. Now they can just collapse and divide. It's up to Nazi, who's kind of lurking. Just joins back in the team. I was gonna say, if Nazi lurks and really works their way into the map, there's a possibility, but because they're deathballed on A, I think they're gonna be corralled by Prosperity. They push out.
That's Winthrop giving themselves a chance to turn this all around. A 3 versus 5. Spike playing a time on their side. Winthrop pushing the envelope. Prosperity hope to not get folded. And that's a 2-2 pinch from both sides. But Scary Shark dismantled. Winthrop still have 2. An Infiltrator has to pull off the impossible. 1, 2, Toadaloo to Prosperity.
Oh my
a
God.
clutch for the duelist extraordinaire.
And they were poised. Prosperity looked so clean with it, but just a clinical moment out of Infiltrator. Because once they get in, all they can do is take you down. Oh my gosh. It was a 5v3. They pushed into it. I even said they're getting aggro, the Winthrop special. And we talk about aggression. Infiltrator is just going to be able to pop off. I cannot understate that. And the take of damage that was dealt onto Vantic in that moment really comes into play. So you know that Winthrop is firing off on all cylinders.
Yeah, kill Infiltrator, win. That's the win condition for Prosperity. But with pistols, that's a thrifty that Prosperity haven't been able to pull off. And Ali just catches them going for a play of walking down mid with no info, just vibes. And Winthrop definitely now have sealed up this round.
Similar to what we saw on Ascent earlier, about to be a clash between Scary Shark. And they go down. She's going to fall on the site. A plant's going to come through. And you have 5 players up for Winthrop. So now they're just looking ahead into what's going to happen. And looking ahead, they have some insane weapons. You have Infiltrator back up on the Outlaw. You have the Flare Bulldog. You even have Nazi going for these plays to prevent Vantic and Yuki from dying to the spike. They're really getting proactive, and I enjoy that so much out of Winthrop University.
Just being able to deny any of these weapons would have been ideal, but that means Winthrop are going to tie things up, and this relentless offense can be real scary. At least Prosperity did enough work in the first half to now force a lot of effort out of Winthrop to try and take the win, but this is the last map of the series. Prosperity better put up or shut up.
I'm liking the new look for Yuki here, but speaking of Yuki, they needed to die there, and they managed to unfortunately go down. That's going to give them the economy to bolster themselves up here. This is the buy round for the likes of Prosperity, so hopefully we can see something different out of them. But like I mentioned, the setup is there. You have a buy up out of Nazi, who had a Sheriff earlier and found some really exceptional frags, so it could still go in Winthrop's favor to really dominate the early parts of this game.
Winthrop already seeing some action on the right side of the map and wanting to respect that after giving up the orb there to Prosperity. Winthrop have the Outlaw activated at left, and Yuki's been very good about playing their life and jiggle peeking and getting info without committing to the contacts. So that's given Winthrop a chance to step up while Prosperity have given up vision. Now you just realize how close Winthrop are. And you're hearing this Outlaw, so Prosperity are not wanting to engage this until the moment is right. As the mid gets broken down, Prosperity are kept busy on the right side. Winthrop want to take advantage of the numbers. They just bulldoze these defenders, and it works out for Winthrop. Still needing to get the spike planted. It's just up the Scary Shark in a 1 versus 3. If anyone could do it from Prosperity, it's definitely her. And just the 1v1 against Flare, she couldn't pull it off. Almost the ace too for Flare. Great to see.
Set up in the fall, it gets burned, it gets flared up into nothing. And now Prosperity going for a timeout. I was gonna say going for an eco play here, but they're timing out. They don't really have much ultimates to work with, so they're definitely talking about the next round, talking round 17 and how to play that out. There's an Armageddon for Flare, maybe try to bait out some plays, get info on them. Infiltrator on this attacking side has been really good. Their entries have been so strong. And speaking of entry, it's Manny back here with the Temets plays. Oh, zoom in, but towards this specific timeout, it's like you want that aggression out of Prosperity, that the passion that they had. That first round was really solid off them. The pistol was great. They just kind of got in an unlucky scenario where Infiltrator really shined as an individual player, and that is really what Prosperity needed, this mental rebalance. And hey, we did really well on our pistol. We had really solid calls. Right now we're kind of just faltering in that like individual department.
And Manny, to be able to be as flashy as he has ever since the Clove Lotus appearance has been really cool. His agent pool is just strange in general. You have like Vice, Clove, Chamber, Neon as his most played agents. And so Manny has been the flex player for this team. And to be in the Neon shoes, which is what Magic spends most of his time on, is really impressive that Manny has been able to step up and play those mechanics to a T. Winthrop only lead by 1, and off the hunt, Winthrop did get a sense of someone around the corner. This will be an orb for Winthrop.
The walk up towards the B site as well as the holds out of mid. I mean, you see a lot of control for Prosperity. Art has even been contested by Yuki, so they're just going to try and bolster their defense as much as they can, but Winthrop is wary.
Yeah, being aware of like the double walk up from Prosperity, and that's why you have this crossfire from Winthrop. Just knowing if they're going to take their time with it, they might as well, like you said, bolster their numbers so they can have favorable exchanges. Now that they're not seeing any action on mid, Winthrop's timing could be awkward. And still, you have this last layer of Nasi who's going to check and could have timing on this Neon. Meanwhile, Winthrop are trying to make some pace towards A after killing a lot of time off the clock. And Infiltrator's killing a lot of people off the site as well. And even getting the vantage point on the high ground. That's why Infiltrator is one of the best we have in Challengers. Winthrop closing out this round, getting up to 9. And they have not dropped a round this half, even after the Prosperity timeout.
No charges.
And then this is the round I'm really thinking Prosperity's talking about. There it is, an op in hand, but this time it's in the hand of Magic. I wonder what this is going to be posted up, looking like it's inching its way towards B. I was going to ask about the mid defense. All right, what are they going to be doing? And realistically, it looks like they are bolstering the mid defense, considering they've been walked up multiple times and the timings have been caught off on them. They need to address the mid defense, as well as having that sedentary op on Magic with his hand. You know, they can get out of it without needing to worry about, you know, are we going to be able to control B main? No, we have an op there.
Look at all this delay that Yuki has set up for A. See if it gets activated here. And meanwhile, Winthrop just are throwing everything at the Sentinel to keep them out of the sight. But Yuki has just itches to work within this corner and still surprises Winthrop on the entry before Infiltrator steps up and does exactly that to Yuki. Now the spike is left, and you hear this op. It's starting to worry you. It's the first time we've seen Prosperity really show up with this, the dimensional drift at an awkward time. And now you're giving Infiltrator the possible ace. Okay, moves will steal that, but an awkward dimensional drift, I think, in terms of the tempo of that round.
This is a glasses off moment, Lemon Kiwi. I was just so
I'll take mine
hyped.
off too.
I was so no. I took them off because I didn't want to see what I was looking at. It was poised again for Prosperity in those moments. But then you have the Infiltrator saving all of the pick'ems, it seems, because he's just getting straight into there. I think everyone saw it, right? There was a huge a surrounding pressure mounting on Winthrop, but like Sierradon said, diamonds are forged under pressure, and look who's shining. It's Infiltrator.
Winthrop gonna keep mid on watch with Prosperity maybe sensing a desperate play coming out, and Magic catches moves by surprise. But this is a rifle that Prosperity can't recover. But hey, dwindling down, giving Prosperity a chance. Out of Thrifty is everything. Prowler shot up close. Good info for Winthrop. No, someone is in this back alley. And Winthrop, they know they have the better weapons, so they got to go in with confidence. Prosperity around the corner, have two. And Magic has already teleported back, has flashes though. And Winthrop themselves back into an even scenario.
Oh, they just know. And it's crazy because there's a really solid mid hold. You have a lot of players there, but the utility just flushes you out. B site now entirely empty. Yuki's not alive to defend it. You only have 2 players on eco weapons, and Winthrop showing how they're taking every round seriously, regardless of if it's an eco or not.
Player standing.
Oh, could have been a fun deny on the spike planner to buy time, but
Nope.
you just get the one and done on a Sheriff. You're not going to be awarded a second shot most of the time. Not against a team like Winthrop. 11-7. Look at the ults. Oh my god.
I was gonna say, what a second half. The ultimates are stacked in Winthrop's favor. Sure, Manny's close to 1, but even then, it's gotta be rough here. And that's the thing about Winthrop. Even in the moments that we see Prosperity really shining, it just comes down to the fact that Infiltrator has been such an important factor for Winthrop. And if Infiltrator's alive, you cannot discredit anything. It's going straight up, like, stack towards A.
Better get out of his way. I've seen what Infiltrator can do with knives on this map, on Ascent, and the Armageddon to force Prosperity either forward or away. The Nightfall on top of that, and Prosperity still are standing tall on the site. Winthrop have dropped one. They've gotten out of the site. Now they have to assess the damage as Prosperity have an up, getting into position 2. Spike is getting planted. Prosperity couldn't do anything about it with the shock bolts from Scary Shark. And speaking of that, you still have a Hunter's Fury. There's a lot of options for Prosperity. Now the trigger is being pulled. Literally, Yuki in the corner needs assistance. The Hunter's Fury is going to get a catch from Scary Shark. And Flare and Moobs are left on the post plant, being surrounded. They're on an island. And they're getting help. Now it's just Flare in a 1 versus 2. And this is to get Winthrop to match point. At this back corner, only one angle to worry about. The Spike getting tapped on the other side, going up the ramp, forcing the engagement. The ace from Flare. What a clutch!
Oh my god! That was such a good position out of Flare. I just gotta glaze a little bit because I mean, that's fair. This is the same Flare that diffed me in deathmatch, like just absolutely fragging out. True story. And like the position is great. It still has salvos, takes care of Yuki. And even though Infiltrator's gone, yeah, Infiltrator's the diamond, but what about the rest of the ring? Because when you're going in fisticuffs like this, Winthrop is gonna be the boxer that wins because they've just been running it down and being successful at that. Like, it's awesome to see Winthrop back in form like this.
Yeah, for Prosperity to survive Armageddon, Nightfall, and to get the round as close as it was just to get aced. It's a tough one. And now you have to play perfect from here on out if you're Prosperity. But I think just taking that map 1, I think is still a statement to make that they're a solid team. They're well-rounded. But this is still one of the big 3. This is Winthrop, who got 3rd in playoffs, and has only evolved every split we've seen them, and has given a lot of respect to the collegiate scene as to what talent they can produce.
It's just holding.
Okay, some respect from Scary Shark. Oh, getting decayed though, and trying to stay put, stay alive.
What a fake.
Scary Shark is not gonna take an unnecessary engagement, but now a lot of time being wasted there from Nasi eventually gets dealt with, and Winthrop are not thinking about planting the spike. They're thinking about wrapping around, or also worried about Prosperity retaking. So the plant will still go through with all the smokes in place there, thanks to Ali with the Cosmic Divide too. But it's the overdrive. Manny pops it out in the open. Just an uncharacteristic decision, and Prosperity had magic, trying to win a 1v2 to save the map. And now the Dimensional Drip to reposition. A Cosmic Divide's not going to give him a lot of options to find an angle on Ali. Now knows that Ali's on the other side. Flashes, swings, no contact. Could be on the other side of the smoke, could be back corridor. Is running out of time, wants to get it halfway. Ali with the timing and the eventual win. 13-7. Winthrop take the series.
And the clutch factors every single time for Winthrop are just there. They're just there in every moment from every element of Winthrop. And we, like I said, right, we talked about one player being above the cut of the rest, but for a beautiful piece of jewelry, you need every part to shine. And that's what we have out of Winthrop here. Truly a team worth being in the top 3. And they stumbled, but they did not succumb to the pressure. The Winthrop classic of losing the first map and then bringing it back has yet to me. It remains true. It just remains true. And I'm a little bit like this because it's just been so many rounds in a row. They didn't win a single defensive round for Prosperity. And that is devastating. It is a just tough reality to deal with. But I do want to set this up for the stage that this is the beginning. This is the first game that they played. So, but they've shown a lot of promise here. So for the pick'ems, for everyone out there, do not discount Prosperity just yet. You got to give them a huge hats off for what they've done.
Yeah, we started to see where that peak really is for Prosperity with how well they played Lotus. And that's one of their best maps. But I think with more weeks and challengers, we're going to see more of that map pool from Prosperity. And they're definitely experimenting. We saw the Waylay out of them. It didn't work out on Ascent, but they're a team that have a lot of great ideas. And with more time, we'll be able to execute maybe just as well as Winthrop, who also need to show signs of their own consistency, right? Of not losing a map like that to a team like Prosperity. And, you know, they could have slow starts, but it's how you finish that matters. And it's a Winthrop win that we can appreciate, especially like you said, having a flawless offensive round says a lot. And you know who also says a lot of things to the desk? We're going to go and check in on that, and we'll see you after the break.
people really like to give up and they don't really have that drive.
The expectation should be to win first place.
Get them to ascend. We kind of just threw at the end.
30 seconds left.
Yeah, MAD were winning 5 versus 3.
Look how quick this one.
Taxes, Death, and Winthrop losing the first map in a series just to win the next 2 to win out. This is just a classic day here for Valorant Challengers. Winthrop University, though, Roy, they're going to be starting off their season with a win. Going into this final map, it was definitely a good fight coming out from Prosperity, but not enough. And Winthrop University, they're firing. They heated up, man.
Absolutely. I mean, again, reminder, they were the 3rd place finishers last split, right? So this is what we're expecting from them from the get-go. We were expecting this firepower. We were expecting this ferocity, and they showed it. Obviously, Infiltrator having a great series as well. But you know, shout out to Prosperity. We kind of have an idea of what to expect from them now. We see the potential. We saw how they played in the first map. We saw how the moments of glory in the 3rd map as well. Obviously, second map didn't really go their way. Maybe they just the game plan didn't really kick in. Maybe we'll see a little bit more improvement on that in that end. But overall, I like what I see with Prosperity. I think they have a lot to work with, and I think there's a lot of room for them to grow. And I'm excited to see that growth throughout the season.
I agree. I think in terms of, you know, putting your name out there and wanting to put forward a good performance for a team that came from Premier, like, their performance was as impeccable as you could get. And I definitely have to give them kudos. Like, you know, they could be considered the underdogs coming into this, but they're also new, right? They have to establish themselves in this new environment. You know, very, very challenging. It's called Challengers for a reason, guys. Like, let's give it some credit here.
Really? Oh my God.
Yeah, sorry. I have to let you guys know. Mansplain.
I mean, going into this, the fact that it was a competitive series up against, as Roy called out, the 3rd place team from playoffs. Remember, this is not the same Winthrop University that we saw at the beginning of stage 1. This is new, improved. This is different. This is one of the top teams that we have here in Challengers. So to make your way through Premier and in your debut as a team, be able to make this a 2-1 series. Of course, there's a couple of things to be ironing out on that map of Ascent. Maybe we'll get to see a little bit of a different map pool, but on these maps of Lotus and Pearl, Roy, we got to see a lot of great ideas, a lot of highlights, and I'm excited for their next appearance already. We've learned a lot about that team. There's still just a little bit more to crack open, but this was definitely a great debut.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we nailed it on the head. I'm liking what I'm seeing. There's a lot of firepower on this team. They actually have a much higher level of team play than I was expecting, right? We had no idea what to expect. Are they just puck stars? You know, are they just like scrimmers? Are they all X Factor players? Like, what can we expect from this team? And we kind of saw a lot of glimpses of their team play. They have great combos. They have great lurk timings. They're maneuvering well in chaotic situations. And the pulse plans, those are typically the hardest parts of the round to maneuver, right? Especially when everything happens in split seconds at this level. Everyone's deciding and making decisions quickly. So the fact that they're able to match that against Winthrop University is honestly just awesome to see. I'm really, really excited to see this team.
Another map where the first kill is just heavily in their favor. So definitely another one of those, okay, Prosperity, let's go. But time to start talking a little bit more about Winthrop University here, Gomps, because they were the winning team here. And across this board, like, this team really just knows how to show up. At Infiltrator, these last 2 maps, he was just different. This jet of his, like, sometimes it's like, you know what, play the Waylay. It'd be fun. Why not? But like, Infiltrator on jet, something else.
Dude, 26 and 11. That's him. Like, come on. I mean, Infiltrator was just destroying, and it really did take from the momentum in the last map of Ascent. I think Infiltrator started to get a bit into the groove, and everyone else as well, right? You have a good duelist taking charge, that really does transfer over to your gameplay into the next map, and everybody else now also starting to kind of maneuver and make sure that Infiltrator is able to shine, and it just made things 10 times easier moving on to this map.
I mean, we definitely had a lot more expectations for this Winthrop University squad, considering their playoffs run. So to start the season off with a win, it just seems to make sense. But it's time now for the post-match interview. And on the line, we have none other than former coach, now superstar player here, Ali. Hello. Congrats. We got this dub. You're starting off the regular stage strong. How's that feel, especially after stage 1 being something that was a little bit more troublesome?
Feels good. Happy to win our first match. I think this is I heard Ishan say this is the first time that we went up 1-0 in a split, but you know, we got 1-0. We're looking to keep it strong.
Let's talk a little bit about that, because obviously stage one was very different than what we saw in playoffs, where you were the third finishing team, which was just incredible overall. So now how do you look to this new stage of Valorant, making sure that you can kind of carry that momentum through to continue being one of these top teams now?
I think we just go one game at a time, like we did last split. Right, first it was Burger Boys and YP, then TSM, then M80. Right, just making sure that we're doing our match prep for every game, and just staying warm, keeping ourselves consistent.
Always one game at a time. Let's talk a little bit back about this series and the games that we saw. First, I want to ask about this Lotus, because the amount of times I feel like we've seen Lotus first up in the series and Winthrop University not necessarily getting this win here and then bouncing back on the next two it's way too many times. I can't even count at this point. What is it about Lotus that keeps you guys keep coming back even when these wins aren't necessarily going this way?
I don't know. I mean, the same reason why you kept voting for us. What made you keep voting for us, right? I think we just banned. I think we just banned Lotus at this point. We had the Sova Teo first, and then we tried the Breach Teo. Still looks a little shaky, so we're not sure. We'll put it back in the workshop. We'll cook something up for next time.
Hey, I mean, the other maps at least are looking so great. I mean, we got Ascent next, which was something that we weren't necessarily sure what to see from the team. And we saw something that, we get to see the Tejo, we get to see, new ideas, but we also see a lot of the old. So Ascent, talk to me a little bit about that map, because you guys dominated there.
Oh, we picked Teo last second. We weren't sure if we should play Teo or KO.
Really?
So that map was just kind of like rely on our instincts and try to remember what we can from however long ago it's been.
I mean, you're just going off the instincts and getting that far. Great stuff. And one thing particular is you back to Lotus real fast, because we've seen a lot of Clove from you. You're definitely not shy of playing these other smokes on these other maps. Don't get me wrong, but Lotus and your Clove is always just one of those things that ring out, and we didn't see it today. Another instinct moment? Are we kind of getting over the Clove here?
No, yeah, that one, we talked about it beforehand. We realized that, there is potential for me to just play Clove, and obviously we can frag out, but we found it was better if we play Omen for the paranoia, the TPs. But that doesn't mean that one day I might just be feeling it and go Clove, okay? Just don't keep expecting Omen.
I never know what to expect with this team, and apparently y'all don't either sometimes. This Tejo versus KO on a set. You keep it interesting. I appreciate that. But, I mean, you keep it interesting, you get the wins. So, yeah, you guys deserve a good rest. Ali, thank you for your time. Congrats on the win.
Thank you. Have a good one, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Winthrop University, they're going to keep on the winning ways, and that's a great start to the stage 2. But, of course, we still have one more match here for this very first round. A quick break before we get that started. Stay tuned.